Everyone was searching for the maid, but nobody understood that the secret she carried was the one thing even the most powerful man in the city could not ignore. The grand halls of Bennett Estate had never felt so silent. The marble floors, the golden lights, and the expensive artwork that once represented control and influence now seemed to hold a different kind of tension. At the center of it all was Adrian Cross, a man known throughout the city as a powerful mafia boss who built his reputation on discipline, intelligence, and absolute control. At 43 years old, Adrian carried the appearance of a man who had spent a lifetime making impossible decisions. His tall frame, broad shoulders, olive-toned skin, slicked back dark brown hair with natural silver strands, and short boxed beard with hints of gray reflected experience rather than age. Wearing his signature black tailored suit with an open black shirt revealing a glimpse of his black and gray tattoos, he stood quietly in his private office, his calm expression hiding thoughts no one could read. But that night, Adrian was not thinking about business, money, or influence. He was thinking about Amara Williams, the Black Maid who had disappeared from the estate. To everyone else, Amara was someone who worked quietly in the background, a person many guests barely noticed as they walked through the mansion. But Adrian had noticed something different about her. She was always respectful, always composed, and never once tried to use her position to gain attention. Amara carried herself with a quiet confidence that did not come from wealth or status. She had deep brown skin with a natural healthy glow, an elegant oval face, high cheekbones, a graceful jawline, dark almond-shaped eyes, and a calm presence that made people feel understood. She wore simple, professional attire and natural makeup that highlighted her beauty without changing who she was. For years, she had moved through the mansion like a shadow, seeing things others ignored and hearing conversations others never expected her to hear. But one evening, everything changed. Amara had entered a quiet hallway to complete her usual duties when she heard voices coming from Adrian's private study. She was not searching for secrets. She was not trying to discover anything. She was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Behind the closed door, she heard words that revealed a hidden truth about Adrian's past, a truth powerful people had spent years protecting. She immediately understood that what she had heard was not ordinary information. It was something that could change how people viewed the man behind the mafia name. Yet what surprised everyone later was not the secret itself. It was Amara's choice after discovering it. She could have used that knowledge to demand something. She could have tried to change her life through the information she carried. But instead, she chose silence. And that choice was exactly what made Adrian begin to question everything he believed about people. Because in a world where everyone wanted something from him, the one person who knew his greatest secret wanted nothing at all. The room was quiet. The powerful man was watching the woman everyone else overlooked. And for the first time in years, Adrian Cross wondered if the person with the least power in his world was actually the person with the strongest character. After that quiet night in Bennett Estate, Adrian Cross began to notice the one person everyone else had chosen to ignore. Amara Williams had always been present, yet somehow invisible to the people who walked through those grand halls. She served meals, organized rooms, and moved through the mansion with a calm professionalism that made her seem like part of the background. But Adrian had started seeing what others missed. He noticed how she treated every person with the same respect, whether they were wealthy guests or workers carrying out simple tasks. He noticed how she never used her position to gain attention, never asked questions that were not hers to ask, and never showed the fear that most people displayed when standing near someone as powerful as him. Days after the night she heard the conversation inside his private study, Adrian watched carefully from a distance. He expected changes in her behavior. He expected nervousness, curiosity, or even an attempt to use the information she discovered. Instead, Amara remained exactly the same. She continued her daily routine with quiet confidence. She walked through the estate with her natural grace, her deep brown skin glowing under the soft morning light, her almond-shaped dark eyes focused and thoughtful, her natural makeup adding elegance without taking away from her authentic beauty. Adrian found that more surprising than any secret she could have revealed. In his world, information was often treated like currency. People collected secrets because they wanted something in return. They protected knowledge because it gave them influence. But Amara seemed different. She carried the truth without allowing it to change who she was. One afternoon, Adrian saw her helping a younger employee who had made a simple mistake. Instead of criticizing or embarrassing the person, Amara calmly explained what needed to be corrected. She offered patience where others would have offered judgment. Adrian stood silently nearby, observing the moment. For years, he had surrounded himself with people who wanted access to his power. Yet the person who knew the most about him was the only person who seemed completely uninterested in using it. That realization unsettled him. Not because Amara was a threat, but because she challenged everything he believed about human nature. Meanwhile, Amara understood that remaining silent was not easy. She knew the secret she carried connected to a world far larger than her own. But she also knew that reacting out of fear or ambition would only make things worse. Her strength came from patience, not from control. Her confidence came from knowing who she was, not from what she possessed. For the first time, Adrian began questioning the distance he had always placed between himself and others. He had spent years believing that power was the only protection a person needed. But watching Amara, he began to see another kind of strength. The strength to remain kind when it would be easier to become bitter. The strength to stay honest when a secret could bring personal gain. And as the evening lights filled the halls of Bennett Estate, Adrian Cross looked toward the woman who knew his hidden truth and realized something he never expected. The person he trusted the least was not the person who knew his secret. It was the people who had spent years pretending they did not have secrets of their own. Adrian Cross had spent most of his life believing that secrets were the foundation of power. In his world, information was carefully protected, trust was rare, and every person around him seemed to have a reason for wanting something. But the more he observed Amara Williams, the more he realized she did not fit into any category he understood. She was not impressed by his reputation. She was not intimidated by the wealth surrounding Bennett Estate. And she was not interested in the hidden knowledge she accidentally discovered. That was what made her different. Behind the title of Mafia Boss was a man who had spent decades building walls around himself. Adrian was known as a person who remained calm under pressure, a man with a sharp mind and a controlled presence. His dark brown hair, styled back with natural silver strands, his short boxed beard with hints of gray, and his tailored black suit created the image everyone expected to see. But beneath that carefully maintained image was someone who had learned to survive by never showing uncertainty. Amara, however, saw something others never noticed. She saw the quiet moments when Adrian stood alone in his office after long meetings. She saw the weight behind his silence. She saw that power did not always mean peace. The discovery surprised Adrian because Amara had never tried to impress him. She never changed her behavior because she knew something important about him. Instead, she continued showing the same kindness she had shown from the beginning. One morning, while organizing the library inside Bennett Estate, Amara found an old photograph that had fallen from a book. It was not her place to examine personal belongings, so she simply returned it to where it belonged. That small action stayed in Adrian's mind when he later learned about it. He realized that Amara respected boundaries even when curiosity could have led her toward answers. Meanwhile, Amara carried her own thoughts about the secret she had heard. She understood that the truth connected to Adrian was complicated. She also understood that people often judged others by the roles they were given. To many, she was only a maid. To many, Adrian was only a powerful figure surrounded by fear and influence. But Amara believed every person had a story beyond what the world saw. That belief was something Adrian had forgotten. One evening, Adrian finally spoke with her directly. He did not accuse her. He did not demand explanations. Instead, he asked a simple question about why she chose silence. Amara looked at him calmly and answered that not every piece of information belonged to the person who discovered it. Some things required responsibility before action. Her words stayed with Adrian long after the conversation ended. In that moment, he realized she possessed something many powerful people lacked: wisdom without arrogance. The woman everyone underestimated had no interest in controlling his world. She simply understood it better than most people inside it. And for Adrian Cross, that was the first time in years that someone had shown him a truth he could not ignore. The greatest strength in the room was not the person with the most power. It was the person who knew how to use it with dignity. The quiet understanding between Adrian Cross and Amara Williams did not go unnoticed forever. In a world built around appearances, even the smallest changes could create questions. People inside Bennett Estate began noticing that Adrian, a man known for keeping everyone at a distance, had started paying attention to someone who had always been overlooked. But what they did not understand was that Adrian was not interested because Amara knew his secret. He was interested because she was the first person who knew something important about him and still treated him like a human being. That difference changed everything. Across the city, Victor Hale watched the situation carefully. As Adrian's longtime advisor, Victor understood the world of influence better than most. He knew how powerful information could be, and he knew that secrets were often more valuable than money. For years, he had helped maintain the careful image surrounding Adrian Cross. But now he noticed something unexpected. Adrian was beginning to question decisions he once accepted without hesitation. Victor believed the problem was not the secret itself. The problem was that Amara had reminded Adrian of a part of himself he had tried to ignore. Inside Bennett Estate, Amara continued her daily responsibilities with the same quiet confidence. She did not act like someone carrying important knowledge. She did not seek attention or sympathy. Her deep brown skin, elegant oval face, dark almond-shaped eyes, and natural makeup gave her a graceful appearance. But what truly stood out was the calm strength behind her actions. She understood that being trusted with information was a responsibility, not an opportunity. Adrian noticed that quality more every day. One evening, he found himself standing near the library as Amara carefully organized the shelves. The room was filled with warm light, and for a moment, the mansion felt less like a place of power and more like a home. Adrian asked her if she ever wondered why people with influence often seemed afraid of losing control. Amara paused before answering. She said that sometimes people protected their power so much that they forgot the reason they wanted it in the first place. Her answer stayed with him, because Adrian realized she was not speaking only about others. She was speaking about him. Meanwhile, Victor began looking deeper into the situation. He wanted to understand why Amara remained silent and why Adrian trusted her judgment. What he discovered surprised him. Amara was not trying to gain anything from the secret she carried. She was simply waiting for the right moment and the right decision. That made her more difficult to predict than anyone Victor had encountered. For the first time, someone without wealth, influence, or authority had created uncertainty among people who believed they controlled everything. Adrian Cross had built his reputation by understanding human nature. He believed he could recognize ambition, fear, and deception. But Amara challenged that belief. She showed him that sometimes the most powerful choice a person could make was choosing not to take advantage of someone else's weakness. And as the days passed inside Bennett Estate, the secret that was supposed to create fear began creating something completely unexpected. It created trust between two people who came from worlds that were never supposed to understand each other. The secret inside Bennett Estate had always been treated as something that could never be touched. It was a piece of the past carefully hidden behind years of silence, carefully protected by people who believed control was the only way to survive. But now, the one person who discovered it was not someone seeking influence or recognition. It was Amara Williams, a black maid who had spent years moving quietly through the halls while powerful people spoke as if she was not there. And that was exactly why Adrian Cross could not stop thinking about her. Adrian had spent his life surrounded by people who measured every conversation by what they could gain. A compliment often came with a request. A favor often carried an expectation. Trust was something people talked about, but rarely practiced. Yet Amara had done something that challenged everything he understood. She knew a truth that could have changed her position, but she chose responsibility over advantage. One evening, Adrian stood alone in his office, the city lights reflecting against the large windows behind him. His black tailored suit remained perfectly fitted, his open black shirt revealing a glimpse of the fixed black and gray tattoos across his upper chest and neck. His calm expression remained unchanged, but his thoughts were different. For the first time in years, he was not thinking about how to maintain control. He was thinking about whether control had prevented him from seeing the people around him clearly. Across the estate, Amara continued her routine. She prepared the dining room, organized the library, and helped maintain the peaceful atmosphere of the mansion. Her elegance never came from expensive clothing or social status. It came from the way she carried herself. Her deep brown skin, graceful oval face, dark almond-shaped eyes, and natural makeup reflected her quiet confidence. But what Adrian respected most was the strength behind her choices. She did not need anyone to tell her she had value. She already knew it. That was something many people with power had forgotten. When Adrian finally asked Amara about the secret again, the conversation was not about fear or suspicion. It was about trust. He asked why she never tried to use what she knew. Amara looked at him calmly and explained that a person's character was revealed by what they chose to do when they had an advantage over someone else. Her words created a silence Adrian could not easily dismiss, because he realized she was holding a lesson he had never learned. Victor Hale noticed the growing connection between them and became increasingly concerned. He had spent years understanding Adrian's decisions, but this was different. Adrian was not becoming weaker. He was becoming more thoughtful. And to Victor, that change was unpredictable. The balance inside Bennett Estate was shifting, not because of money, not because of influence, but because one woman who had been overlooked showed the most powerful people in the room what integrity looked like. Adrian Cross had built an empire by knowing how the world worked. Amara Williams reminded him that knowing the world was not the same as understanding people. And as the hidden truth continued to wait beneath the surface, the greatest question was no longer who knew the secret. The question was what Adrian would choose to do once the truth could no longer remain hidden. The atmosphere inside Bennett Estate had changed in a way that no one could fully explain. The halls were still quiet, the rooms were still filled with luxury, and Adrian Cross was still the same powerful man everyone recognized. But something beneath the surface was different. The people around him noticed that he listened more carefully, questioned more deeply, and no longer viewed every situation only through the lens of control. The reason was simple. Amara Williams had shown him a different way to understand strength. For years, Adrian believed that trust was something earned through loyalty and usefulness. He believed people stayed close because they respected his position and understood the importance of his influence. But Amara had never looked at him that way. She did not see the title, the reputation, or the power surrounding him. She saw the person behind it. That realization became impossible for him to ignore. One afternoon, Adrian walked through the estate library and found Amara carefully organizing a collection of old books. The sunlight entered through the tall windows, creating a peaceful contrast to the heavy responsibilities that followed him everywhere else. She looked exactly as she always had, composed and focused. Her deep brown skin, elegant oval face, dark almond-shaped eyes, and natural makeup reflected a quiet confidence that did not depend on anyone's approval. Adrian watched for a moment before speaking. He asked her if she ever regretted knowing something that placed her in a difficult position. Amara paused and answered honestly. She said that difficult situations did not reveal who people were because of what they knew. They revealed who people were because of what they chose to do. Adrian remained silent after hearing those words. They were simple, but they carried a meaning he could not dismiss. Meanwhile, Victor Hale continued observing the changes around him. He had always understood Adrian's decisions, but now he saw uncertainty where there had once been complete confidence. Victor believed the secret should remain protected because it represented years of careful planning and reputation. But Adrian began to understand that protecting something and hiding something were not always the same. The difference was responsibility. Later that evening, Adrian reviewed the information connected to the hidden truth he had spent years avoiding. For the first time, he did not ask how the situation would affect his image. He asked whether the people involved had been treated fairly. That question marked a change no one expected from him. Amara never demanded that Adrian become a different person overnight. She never judged him by his past or tried to control his future. She simply reminded him that every decision had a human cost, and every person deserved to be seen beyond their role. As the night settled over Bennett Estate, Adrian stood near the window of his office, looking across the quiet grounds. The city knew him as a man of power, but for the first time, he wondered if true power came from controlling everything around him or from having the courage to make the right choice when no one expected it. The secret that once represented fear was slowly becoming something else. It was becoming a test of character. And the person who helped him understand that was the one person everyone else had overlooked. The decision Adrian Cross had been avoiding for years was finally approaching. Inside Bennett Estate, the quiet conversations, the careful glances, and the unanswered questions all pointed toward one moment that could change everything. For most of his life, Adrian believed that leadership meant protecting what he built at any cost. His reputation depended on appearing certain, controlled, and untouchable. But after meeting Amara Williams, he began to understand that there was a difference between protecting a legacy and protecting the truth. Amara never asked Adrian to change. She never demanded an apology for the way people overlooked her or treated her as someone unimportant. Instead, she showed him something much more powerful. She showed him that respect was not created by fear. It was created by the way a person treated others when they had every reason not to. One evening, Adrian invited Amara to his private office for a conversation that felt different from their previous discussions. The room was surrounded by dark wood, warm lighting, and the quiet atmosphere that had always represented his world. Adrian stood near the large window wearing his signature black tailored suit, his open black shirt revealing a glimpse of the fixed black and gray tattoos across his upper chest. His slicked-back dark brown hair with natural silver strands and his short boxed beard with hints of gray reflected the image people expected to see. But his expression was different. He was not looking at her as someone beneath him. He was looking at her as someone whose opinion mattered. Adrian asked Amara what she believed should happen when. The truth was difficult to accept. Amara looked at him calmly and explained that truth did not become less important simply because it was uncomfortable. She said that sometimes the hardest decisions were the ones that showed a person's real character. Her words remained in the room long after she finished speaking. Adrian realized that Amara had never tried to control his choices. She had simply given him the opportunity to make them honestly. Across the estate, Victor Hale noticed that Adrian was preparing to make a decision he could not easily reverse. Victor had always believed power came from maintaining appearances and preventing uncertainty. But Adrian was beginning to see that hiding behind appearances created a different kind of weakness. For the first time, he questioned whether the people who surrounded him truly respected him or simply respected what he represented. Amara, meanwhile, continued to carry herself with the same quiet dignity. Her deep brown skin, elegant features, almond-shaped dark brown eyes, and natural makeup remained unchanged, but Adrian saw something beyond her appearance. He saw patience. He saw courage. He saw a person who had every reason to feel powerless, but never allowed circumstances to define her. That realization changed the way he viewed everyone around him. The following morning, Adrian entered the main hall of Bennett Estate knowing that a choice had to be made. The people waiting for his decision expected the same man they had always known, the man who valued control above everything else. But the person standing before them was different, not because he had lost his strength, but because he had finally discovered what true strength required. And in that silent moment, everyone understood that the greatest change inside Bennett Estate had not come from a secret being revealed. It came from a powerful man choosing to listen to the one person nobody expected him to hear. The morning at Bennett Estate arrived with a different feeling. The mansion that once carried an atmosphere of distance and uncertainty now seemed filled with quiet expectation. Everyone inside the estate understood that Adrian Cross had made a decision, but very few understood why. For years, Adrian had built his reputation on being a man who never hesitated. He was known for careful planning, strong judgment, and the ability to remain calm when others lost direction. But this time, his decision was not about protecting an image. It was about accepting a truth that had been waiting for recognition. In the main hall of Bennett Estate, Adrian stood before the people who had spent years watching his every move. He wore his familiar black tailored suit, his open black shirt revealing a glimpse of his fixed black and gray tattoos across his upper chest. His dark brown hair was styled back with natural silver strands, and his short boxed beard carried the same subtle signs of experience. To everyone looking at him, he still appeared powerful and composed. But there was something different in his expression. The confidence remained, but the distance was gone. Adrian spoke with a calm voice and made it clear that the truth could no longer be hidden behind silence. He did not speak to create fear. He spoke because he understood that honesty required responsibility. The room became quiet as people realized they were seeing a side of Adrian Cross they had never seen before. Standing nearby was Amara Williams. She did not step forward seeking recognition. She did not change her posture because the attention was finally on her. She remained the same person she had always been. Her deep brown skin, elegant oval face, dark almond-shaped eyes, and natural makeup reflected the same quiet confidence she carried every day. She had never needed a position of authority to prove her worth. Her actions had already shown who she was. Victor Hale watched the moment carefully. For years, he believed he understood Adrian better than anyone. He believed Adrian's strength came from never allowing emotions or personal connections to influence important choices. But now he saw something he had never expected. Adrian was not becoming less powerful. He was becoming more aware of what his power meant. The secret that once represented control was now revealing something deeper. It showed the difference between someone who wanted power and someone who understood responsibility. Amara never changed Adrian through pressure or demands. She changed him by showing him another perspective. She reminded him that every person, regardless of position, deserved to be treated with respect. As the day continued, the people who had once walked past Amara without noticing her began seeing her differently. Not because she had gained a new title or a higher position, but because Adrian had finally recognized the value she always carried. The greatest change inside Bennett Estate was not the revelation of a hidden truth. It was the realization that dignity could exist anywhere, even in the quietest corner of a powerful world. And as Adrian looked across the room, he understood that the person who helped him see the truth was never the person who demanded attention. She was the person who never needed it. The days that followed inside Bennett Estate felt different from any time before. The mansion that had once represented distance, secrecy, and power slowly became a place where people began to see one another differently. Adrian Cross remained the same man in many ways. He was still respected, still careful with every decision, and still carried the presence of someone who had spent decades leading others. His tall frame, olive skin, slicked back dark brown hair with natural silver strands, short boxed beard with hints of gray, and signature black tailored suit continued to reflect the image everyone recognized. But behind that familiar appearance was a man who had changed in a way that could not be measured by wealth or influence. He had learned that strength was not only about having control. It was also about knowing when to listen. Amara Williams continued her life with the same quiet grace that had always defined her. She still walked through Bennett Estate with patience and professionalism, never seeking attention for the role she played in Adrian's transformation. Her deep brown skin, elegant oval face, high cheekbones, dark almond-shaped eyes, and natural makeup gave her a timeless beauty. But the quality people noticed most was her character. She remained humble even after everyone finally recognized her value. For Amara, respect was never about being placed above others. It was about being treated as an equal human being. Adrian often reflected on the night when everything changed. He remembered that Amara had possessed something far more valuable than the information she discovered. She possessed judgment. She understood that knowledge without responsibility could become dangerous, but knowledge guided by integrity could create understanding. That lesson stayed with him. Victor Hale's influence inside Bennett Estate was no longer what it once was. The people around Adrian began realizing that loyalty was not proven by simply agreeing with every decision. True loyalty came from honesty, even when honesty was difficult. Adrian had spent years surrounded by people who respected his position, but Amara was the first person who respected the person behind it. One evening, Adrian and Amara stood together in the garden of Bennett Estate as the sun slowly disappeared behind the trees. The peaceful silence between them represented everything that had changed. There was no longer a powerful man and a forgotten worker standing in the same place. There were simply two people who had learned something from each other. Adrian understood that a person's value was never determined by their title, their wealth, or the place they held in society. Amara understood that even someone surrounded by power could still learn compassion and humility. Their story was never about one person saving another. It was about two people from different worlds discovering the importance of respect. The secret that once carried the weight of fear had become the reason a powerful man looked beyond appearances. And as Bennett Estate continued into a new chapter, everyone remembered the quiet truth that changed everything. The person who was ignored by the world was the person who revealed what true dignity looked like. And that day, the world remembered what dignity looks like.